what Hawaii really is, I think we're still coming to understand that. I think there's a much deeper layers of meaning that we have yet to tap into, and that's pretty exciting stuff.
Wow. And you plan to be right there when the meanings come out.
Yeah.
A painter, illustrator, forest preserve groundskeeper, educator, and futuristic storyteller. He might best be described as a Hawaiian Renaissance man. His storytelling canvas stretches from the beginnings of Hawaiian culture to 40,000 years into the future. And while he's only in his early 30s, he seems to possess the wisdom of a very old soul. His name is Solomon Enos, and you'll meet him in just a moment on Long Story Short.
Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox, produced with Sony Technology, is Hawaii's first weekly television program produced and broadcast in HD. High definition, it's in Sony's DNA.
Aloha mai kako, I'm Leslie Wilcox. Like father, like son might be the best way to begin the story of Native Hawaiian artist Solomon Enos. Solomon's father, Eric Enos, also has a background in art and is the co-founder and executive director of Ka'ala Farm in Waianae, a nonprofit farm that promotes sustainability based on the Hawaiian Ahupua'a system and is also used as a cultural learning center. Solomon is a groundskeeper of a similar organization deep in Kalihi Valley, Kokua Kalihi Valley Comprehensive Family Services. His parents and his other family members supported Solomon's decision to pursue a career in art, but the gift of artistic ability was something born to Solomon Enos. All little kids love art. They love fooling around. At what time did you get a sense that maybe you had a gift?
Well, I remember my kindergarten teacher pulled my parents aside one day. I think it was during a parent-teacher night, and she said, Solomon, when he draws people, he doesn't just draw circles with lines. He draws their heads, he draws their bodies, he draws their pants and the buttons and everything. And I remember that. And I remember that affirmation. It's such a really early part of my life, and I just thought, like, oh, cool. Okay, I think I know how to draw. I think I'm going to be a drawer.
and your parents encouraged you.
Yes, all throughout my life.
How did they influence you?
My grandfather, to begin with, Joseph Enos, always wanted to do artwork. Always wanted to draw. Actually had a big collection of art supplies, and he could never really sit down. He never really got into it, but he always encouraged me to draw. And whenever I drew pictures of anything, of like monsters and robots and things like that, he would post it up inside the house, and my grandmother would roll her eyes. Oh my goodness! But he'd always say, I've always wanted to draw, and I'm so happy that you're drawing. Oh, good, good, good. And my mom was just an amazing support because she gave me a lot of really interesting ideas, interesting ways to look at life. Sometimes she would tell me, Solomon, whatever you put your mind to, you really do it. And that kind of encouragement, I think, really helped to form up my process. Because whenever I start a project, I'm like, at the end, I know it's going to be great. I'm going to put my mind to it, and it's going to be awesome. And my father had received a Master's of Fine Arts at the University of Hawaii in 1969. It was really quite a profound influence on me as well. And there's one painting which he did, which shows a person lying down at the bottom of a valley and his body kind of opening up and all of his entrails kind of leading out and becoming the landscape. And it's not gross at all. It's actually quite beautiful. And that's that kind of interesting kind of a paradox of internal organs and landscape. Those are the kind of thoughts that really influenced me at an early age of my life.
Of course, your father is also a cultural heavyweight on the Waianae coast, having started the Cultural Learning Center at Ka'ala and using the farm and life to help drug abusers and people who've lost their way find stability again. How did that influence you?
In the beginning, it was always a bit rough because I'd rather wanted to be at home, drawing or watching cartoons and things like that. And so my father would be pretty adamant about taking me and my brothers up to go and work up in the taro patches up in the back of Ka'ala. But what I was able to do was look at how my father helped with all the other folks that work at Ka'ala Farms to help to engage different kinds of people, from folks from universities, school children, to talk about the deeper significance of the back of the valley and the deeper significance of what the role of Hawaiian culture has to play within the future of Hawaii. And I think all of those have become, themes for my artwork. And I think that, looking back, I was really given quite an enriched experience, enriched childhood.
And here you are now living on a forest reserve, so you've got some of the same elements you had when you were a kid, except in another form.
Everything that I'm doing in the back of Kokua Kalihi Valley Nature Preserve is really like an artistic process.
What is your actual job? There's none like it anywhere else, I don't think.
Well, it's interesting. I'm actually a caretaker at the Nature Preserve. There's actually the Nature Preserve is divided into two different ili, or subsections of the ahupua'a, and different ili within the ahupua'a are almost like different organs within the body. And which is actually very appropriate because the Nature Preserve is a department of Kokua Kalihi Valley Health Center. And so we're actually a health center that is, that has adopted a Nature Preserve. The hope is, over time, these areas that we're managing up here in the back of Kalihi can become resources for members within the community.
To get to the preserve or the reserve, you go all the way back Kalihi Street, right?
Yeah.
Very, very back.
Yeah.
And you have devised the nicest no trespassing sign ever, which says nothing about trespassing. What is it?
I took out the keep out signs because when I think when working with youth, when working with individuals who have challenges with authority, they're going to look at it as a way to say, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do what I like, And so I took out the keep out signs, and there was one keep out sign left, and I could take it down because it was a sign that said violators will be prosecuted, $500 fine. And about 6 months ago, it got some graffiti on it. And there was graffiti on some of the other signs on some of the other properties adjoining our property. And so I went and took a little paintbrush and I cleaned up some of my neighbors' signs and things, touched it up a little bit. And when it came to that one sign that said keep out, fine, I covered it over and I wrote, "This land is your grandmother and she loves you." And it's a little bit, sappy, but it's amazing because I think it causes people to pause and to think about what is their relationship to their grandmother, what is their relationship to this land, and it even, and I kind of touch on this a bit in some of my other work. It kind of encourages this thought that this land is a sentient being. It's, in fact, we may just be figments of its imagination.
And it will always be there, whereas we won't. The deceptively peaceful-looking forest preserve, where the Kokua Kalihi Valley Comprehensive Family Services resides, is a bustling learning center for a wide spectrum of organizations and people of all ages.
I work with Farrington High School. They have a environmental sciences class. We actually have Halaulokahi Charter School. Two of their classes are based up at the preserve, so we always have children around all the time, which is an amazing blessing. And we have community work days where we try to engage community members from Kalihi Valley in part of the story, which is the preserve. I also am able to do a lot of work with patients from the clinic, and the clinic is really a kind of a core for a lot of the programs that we hope to be expanding into, particularly.
And what kind of patients?
Well, initially, patients through the nutrition department at Kokua Kalihi Valley Health Center. These are elderly Samoan, Chuukese, Filipino, and Hawaiian patients who have diabetes, heart disease, and other kinds of chronic illness. And my understanding is, looking to the source of illness, is so much of it is related to displacement from culture, land, family, which leads to depression and stress. So the opportunity for us to open up garden areas where these elders can come outside and start to plant their traditional foods again and become a community, because in this community you have different peoples in the same area, different customs, but sharing ideas, talking story. They'll come outside, they're a little stiff, it's a little rough to get going, and the sun is out there, and it's a nice breezy day. They start to straighten up a little bit. They look at the gardens, they look at the soil. Before you know it, they're tiptoeing on the logs, and they're teasing each other. And the translator's saying, I can't translate that. I shouldn't. And out of the corner of my eye, they're like little children again. And I think that's really coming back to, trying to figure out what is the source of illness and where can the real healing begin, and I think that, it's very much an artistic process, because it's watching how people evolve from the inside, and it's providing the environment for that.
So for you, it goes beyond health to art.
Yes, and it's understanding health as almost like a medium, almost like a transformative process. Plants like ilima and popolo berry and alawai nui it's almost like a pharmacy, an organic pharmacy. And I think that you take the leaf and that's your prescription, and you say, okay, this leaf and I get this medicine. So instead of pills, we have berries, and I think that that's kind of cool. This nature preserve can help to become sort of the future health center, and future clinics and future hospitals. I mean, in the sense that, or future pharmacies, actually, if you think about it.
In the sense of medicinal gardens?
Medicinal gardens, yes. And it makes sense because that's how it's been for millennia. Is that living healthy, to ke'ola pono, or to live well, isn't really limited to your health centers. It's everything you do throughout your life.
All of this sounds very inspiring and very physical in part. Mm-hmm. How do you do your art in addition? Your personal art.
Lately, I've really been having to channel a lot of my energy into doing the work on the land, and I actually will take down some trees and drop them into the ground and build up the soil and cover it with mulch, and it's almost like that is the artwork. So instead of painting pictures of gardens, I'm sort of building them, and actually that whole process is I guess where I'm putting a lot of my creative energy into. But to translate it a little bit more directly, I hope to be doing some carving and painting and even digital media classes with youth from the housing areas in Kalihi, and that's where I think I'll be able to link it up a little bit more closely, because we do actually have classrooms and other facilities up at the preserve where we can bring people, take a walk through the forest, get really inspired, and come inside and try to capture those ideas in some form of media.
What's it like at the preserve when the school children go home and the health center patients go home, and it's just you and your family alone on 99 acres?
There's almost I hear a sigh of contentment from the land.
Sure, it's not you.
No, it might be me. It might be me, but I listen. But it's a sigh of contentment, because what we try to do is think about how we're trying to translate what the land is telling us, and we're trying to listen to the land and we're trying to humbly to speak for it. And one of the things that I know it's been telling me is that it's missed all the children, it's missed the families, it's missed the elders, it's missed the jokes and the laughter, because it's had to put up with a lot of junk, a lot of rubbish.
It was a dumping ground for
cars and for people, really. I mean, maybe not entirely literally, but in so much as people who having a lot of issues and problems going up there and having to self-medicate, I guess you could say, and but so from a lot of that pain, we're hoping to transform that place. And again, it's the people who are always there, the energy that's there. That's really been asking, that's sentient, sentient grandmother landscape that's been saying, oh, where are the babies? Where are the children? And they say, oh, they're coming. You know, bringing back the voice of the children, bringing back the breath is something that it just makes so much sense, and it really does seem to be what the land is asking for.
You know, so many people of your generation, or almost any generation today, no longer count on having one job for their lifetime. They figure they're going to have 6, 7, 8 careers. Yeah. But you're saying, for the next 30 years, this is where I'll be.
Yeah.
And it's not a cakewalk. I mean, you're felling timber and creating mulch and all that.
Yeah, and actually, I feel very content. And I mean, it's I guess, was that guy Joseph Campbell says, you know, you follow your bliss, you know, and it's definitely I'm following it, and feel very, very content to be doing so. And actually, what I hope to do is to kind of figure out, you know, if I do a really good job up at the preserve, that I can help to create more of these kinds of opportunities for other, you know, youth and families to become caretakers, you know, to open up more areas of land in the back of the valleys, because there's so many different benefits. You know, particularly the hope is to partner up with, you know, Board of Water Supply, because they own the back of Kalihi Valley. What we're doing is excellent watershed management, you know, because we're putting back natives. We are opening up areas for composting and mulching, you know, opening up gardening and farm areas. And these go, you know, really far to help to retain water for the health of the entire aquifer, entire watershed. And that can become a model for the back of every valley in Hawaii, you know, and that's what we hope to do, is kind of create a, what you call ohe kapala, or like a bamboo stamp, create a template, you know, get a really good design, and then you go right across. And so,
how has your artwork changed since you began living in the back of Kalihi Valley?
Well, you know, there's just a lot more rain in the back of Kalihi than there is in Makaha. So rainy days are great days for me to sit inside. I've converted our dining room table into partially into a studio area. And so I'll sit there, and it's great because I have my children are playing around and family's around all the time. So I do get a lot of inside time, you know, to sit and to render and to draw. Sunset and morning times, amazing light. Just the light.
Different light in different parts of the island. Sure, that makes a lot of sense.
It's amazing. And just stepping outside and looking at how that layer of light just washes over everything. It just unifies the entire landscape with beautiful amber hues. And so, so if I'm ever at a loss, or if I don't feel inspired enough, I just sort of open my door for about 45 seconds. I go, oh, okay.
Have you looked at the history of the back of Kalihi Valley to see what happened there before you?
Yeah, that's actually right where we are in some of our discussions at the preserve about doing research that tells the story of the back of or that'll help to tell the story of the back of Kalihi Valley. And one of the persons that I hope to really engage more is Puakea Nogomeyer, because he is also a Kalihi resident, and he lives right off of Kalihi Street as well. So and so hopefully we'd like to translate some more stories about Kalihi. And throughout the preserve, I'm really excited about this, is actually looking at creating installations that could be carvings and different things, and at the base of the carving would be a story, and it could be a story of, you know, one of the many stories of the back of Kalihi Valley.
So the installation, the art would introduce the valley to the people who come along.
Absolutely. And even there could be some pathways that move through the 99 acres of the preserve, where each different section of the pathway would be like a page from a story, and would be a different scene from a story. It would be a stone with a different figure carved into it, or it could be carved in a certain shape. And so, and it kind of ties into this idea of when we take groups through the preserve and we talk about all the different volunteer groups that have gotten involved in different areas, what we're doing is we're actually walking story.
While his current lifestyle seems utopian and far removed from the highly competitive world of commercial art, Solomon Enos has enjoyed success as a book illustrator, muralist, CD cover artist, and cartoonist, starting from a very early age. Do you remember the first time you ever got a check for your artwork? You ever got paid?
Yes. Actually, the first time was, and it was actually my very first commission project, and I was honored that the first author I've ever had to collaborate with was Auntie Kua Burgess. And so, amazing woman. And it was curriculum for 5th grade at Makaha Elementary School. And I think it was used for a broader range of schools through the DOE. I was a 6th grader. So I was a 6th grader doing artwork for a 5th grade textbook. And, the images are raw, but there's one experience that I particularly remember from working with Auntie Pua, which, I like to draw upon. That was, quite a lot of fun. And it's a story about this boy that daydreams a lot. And so he's helping his mother unpack groceries from the car, and he drops the eggs, and the eggs spill. And his mother is, she's got all these other things going on in her life, and she's really upset. And she picks up an egg, and she throws it at him, and then she realizes what she's done. And she feels really ashamed about it. And so Auntie Pua says, okay, for this part, here, put on this old dirty t-shirt, let's go outside. So we went outside, and she gets an egg, and she even makes this mean face. She goes, rah, throws it at me. I go, bah. And for one moment, a brief second, I was that boy within the story. And I was like, wow, why did she, this is just bigger pretend. But I think that kind of immersion into the character, into the story, has really helped to influence everything that I've ever done since. And so anyway, so my first paycheck, I think it was like $1,000. It was like, at the time, it was like, wow. And my mom was like, I'll be taking that.
You don't want to get too used to you spending
exactly.
it. Exactly. What kind of art have you done as a paid artist since?
Well, all the book projects I've done have been quite a lot of fun. Kimo Armitage, 2 stories in particular, the Na Olela no Iao no Na Keiki with through Island Heritage, and Na Akua Hawaii, and that was through Bishop Museum Press, and those are gods and goddesses of Hawaii. Every project that comes along is an opportunity for me to do research that research that comes out of those projects actually help to inform everything else I do after that. And on the other end, I guess, would be the work that I've been doing for Polyfantastica, which is very much more of a conceptual project. It's really thinking about, broad and long-ranging ideas that tap into the meaning of the role of our human beings within the universe. So it's pretty far out kind of stuff.
Is it Star Trek meets Hawaii?
Yeah. That could be one way to look at it. And but honestly, I think my influences are more folks like Kurt Vonnegut and more like Carl Sagan. Folks that kind of challenge what's accepted as normal. And helps to make the things every day become much more significant.
So you're quoting a writer and a scientist rather than another artist as having been your models.
Yes, absolutely.
And you translate.
Yes, and it's that inspiration. And in fact, I'm thinking of, there was one line from Vonnegut where he asks the characters in the story, what is faster than light? And they don't have an answer. And he says, okay, you see that star? Okay, you see that star? Okay, awareness. So, wow, okay. So an idea can be extremely powerful. It can be faster than light, a consciousness.
Polyfantastica began as a weekly comic strip for the Honolulu Advertiser, illustrated by Solomon Enos and written by his wife, Meredith Deshay Enos. It has since grown into plans for a graphic novel. The ever-evolving epic is filled with philosophical parables, stretching tens of thousands of years into the future.
In this story, a father and son, they're strapping themselves onto this great big kite, and they're in the middle of this great, beautiful valley, gardens going as far as the eye could see, and they launch themselves up into the sky, and the father tells his son, I'm taking you to a special gathering today up in the sky, and this gathering we're going to tell you a story about a time when human beings used to kill each other. And the son can't, he's like, what? How, with the world full of wonder and beauty, how could you even do that? The whole concept is lost to him. Violence and war is lost to him. And he says, well, when we get there, you'll understand, you'll hear the story. And we're going to go to this place, and what it is they break through the clouds, and it's this great big kite city. And this kite city, all these kites are parking, drifting up to the top. And they go, and there's this knowledge that is put up in that kite city that never touches the earth again. But it's put there, and the children go there to understand that human beings can destroy. Human beings have had this history, but we've evolved away from it. But we still need to tell that story so that we never make those mistakes again.
You've set yourself a huge task with the preserve, and 40,000 years with Polyfantastica. Where'd you get 40,000 years, and how are you going to do that amount of work?
I hope to be able to build or help to foster a mo'olelo industry, a storytelling industry here in Hawaii. And it can happen at many different levels, but we're going to need a whole host of researchers, of artists, of writers, of creative thinkers to tell the traditional stories of Hawaii, and to also tell and to help to look at what the role of Hawaiian people have been as navigators, as people who, when sitting on their island, looking at the currents, watching the birds, saying, there's something else beyond where we are right now. And I'd like to create a theme that talks about there's something else beyond the way the world is now. It's here, but we need to get there somehow. And so what are we going to do, and how can we use the stories that we tell ourselves to change reality?
If you looked at Solomon Enos' resume, you might conclude he's a guy who can't decide what to do. Artist, illustrator, groundskeeper, environmentalist. But there is one job description that ties everything he's about together: storyteller. His tools are material things: paints, pencils, computers, plants, land, students. But the stories he tells with these materials are of another realm, one that traverses tens of thousands of years. We wish Solomon Enos the best in his storytelling endeavors. For PBS Hawaii and Long Story Short, I'm Leslie Wilcox. Ahui ho kako.
Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox is produced in HD by PBS Hawaii with Sony technology. High definition. It's in Sony's DNA.
And as you raised your hand, I saw a tattoo.
Oh.
And since you're an artist, I want to ask you, what's the image?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'll probably figure it out later on. I actually was just experimenting a little bit with.
Did it to yourself?
Yeah. I just was sort of making things up as I went along. I do have a few other tattoos on me, and I'm just actually kind of like a sketchbook, really, walking sketchbook. So not a lot.
Except you can't erase.
Exactly.
You can't blend it out.
So I'm not a whole lot of significance to some of the artwork that I have on me.